appreciate your help. You're so sweet. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be beginning in just a moment. If you know of anybody that's watching the service live stream, they need to go back onto the Mitzvah funeral site and go to live stream 2. If they're not seeing it, have them go to live stream 2. It's right on the Mitzvah funeral site.
Oh, really?
But we're going to start right now. If you want to stand over on the side.
Excuse me.
And then we'll start with you.
I'm going to say some prayers as it gets level, as soon as we're there.
They need one? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the service. The following have been asked to act as pallbearers: Bradley Wolfson, Stephen Wolfson, Sandy Clapman, Bruce Clapman, Brad Wolfson, Stephen Clapman, David Horberg, Todd Horberg, and Danny Clapman. Would the pallbearers please come up to the hearse?
Left.
You're welcome to stay in the shade if you wish. If you have a cell phone, please place it in the silent mode at this time. The service is going to be conducted by Rabbi Aaron Braun, but first there will be honors given to Marvin for his service in the Army to the United States.
Yeah, we're right here. Oops, sorry, hon.
Please rise. You may be seated. Susan, stay there. You're the oldest?
We begin today with the Psalm, Tehillim Tetvav, Psalm 15. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai mi yagor be'olecha, mi yishkon behar kadshecha. A song of David, Lord, who may sojourn in your tent, who may dwell on your holy mountain. Olech tamim u'po'el tzedek v'tover emet elevavo. One who walks in purity, does what is righteous, and speaks the truth from the heart. Lo ragal al lashono, lo asa l're'ehu ra'ah, v'cherpa lo nasa al krovo. Who has no slander on the tongue, nor has done harm to a fellow, or cast disgrace towards a neighbor. Nivzeh be'einav nimas ve'et yireh Adonai yechabed, yishba lahara v'lo yamir. In whose eyes a contemptible person is repulsive, but who honors those who are in awe of the Lord, who swears truthfully even to personal hurt and never retracts. Kaspo lo natan beneshech v'shochad al naki lo lakat. Ose'ele lo yimot le'olam. Who does not lend money on interest nor takes a bribe against the innocent. One who does these things shall never falter. Psalm Kuf Lamed, Psalm 130. Shir Amalot Mimamakim Karaticha Adonai, Adonai Shema Bekoli, Yena Aznecha Kashuvot Lekol Tachonunai. Im Avonot Tishmarya Adonai Miyamod Ki Imcha Haslicha Laman Tivare. Kiviti Adonai Kita Nashi, Velipa Roho Chalti Nashi La Adonai, Ishmorim La Boker, Shomrim La Boker. Yachel Yisrael El Adonai Ki Im Adonai HaChesed V'harbe Imo Pdut V'hu Yifte Et Yisrael Mikol Avonotav. A song of ascents, out of the depths I call you, Lord. Lord, listen to my cry, let your ears be attentive to my supplicative plea. If you preserve the account of sins, God, Lord, who can survive? Pardon resides with you so that you are held in awe. I hope for the Lord, my soul hopes. I await God's word. I yearn more for the Lord than guards for the morning, guard for the morning. Israel, wait for the Lord, for with the Lord is kindness and great redemption, and it is God who will redeem Israel from all its iniquities. Today we lay to rest a stalwart patriarch who was so strong and healthy that the thought that he could live forever was not so far off. Marvin was so much to so many. He worked hard to ensure that his family never wanted and that all those around him were supported and loved. He was old school, but never shy to tell you he loved you, or to expect that you would say you loved him back. In fact, if you didn't at the end of a phone call, he'd call you back to make sure that you did. He and his Esther were the rock by which many kept grounded. And as some find themselves slightly adrift today, we find ourselves anchoring by the memories shared and the stories told, to ensure that a legacy lives on. Marvin's legacy continues on with every tale told or emotion felt. In this manner, we ensure he will never be forgotten, and we may never lose our way. Born Marvin Klein to Sam and Mildred Klein on Thursday, December 23rd, 1925 in Chicago, at Michael Reese Hospital in Bronzeville. Marvin, along with Sister Estelle, would grow up in the northwest side of the city around the Logan Square neighborhood. Marvin would attend Lloyd Grammar School on Lamont Avenue and then move on to Foreman High School at 3235 North LeClaire. After high school, Marvin went on to attend Roosevelt College, where he earned a BS in chemistry, a degree he would use throughout his early work career and in his personal life as well, making his own concoction of chemicals that might miraculously clean a surface or perhaps completely ruin it. After college, Marvin enlisted, to the best we can tell, in the Army. He was rejected from active combat service due to a back condition, but found a home as a ham radio operator. I'm told he had a bit of a dust-up with a senior officer who threatened him with reassignment to the kitchen, to which Marv replied something along the lines of, "Don't threaten me with a good time." In any case, Marvin willfully ended up a cook in the kitchen. His claim to fame, as he would recall later, was being perhaps the only soldier to have ever sent cookies back from war to his mother. He worked the kitchen in Hawaii post Pearl Harbor and was honorably discharged in 1946. Marvin would eventually go to work selling heavy chemicals through the Morris Craft Company upon his return to the States. He also sold some sort of ultrasonic machine. He went around the country selling this machine and had many buyers, including, I'm told, the Green Bay Packers organization, who didn't pay him. Leave it to the Packers to not pay their bill. To his very last day, Marvin was still mad. After all, they still owed him $75. It was in 1959 that his life would change for good and finally find its meaning. Marvin told me just 3 years ago it all began at an El Toro restaurant at 6318 Dempster. A friend of his, Roy Gottlieb, had brought this nice young girl, Esther, dancing. Marvin had brought a girl of his own. It is funny, those memories that get seared in the mind, because Marvin remembered distinctly that moment when he saw Esther. But more than that, he remembered that he went out of his way to introduce his date to Roy, but Roy did not introduce Esther to Marvin. I think it might be clear now why Roy was concerned. A week later, Marvin was struck by lightning twice when Esther happened to drive by. Marvin didn't waste time and asked where she lived. They would make a date, and the following Friday they went to dinner. I'm told Marvin never worked up the courage to ask Esther to marry him, however. It was rather fixed from the beginning. After dating her 3 or so months, her brother David, who was also Marvin's dentist, informed Marvin that he was getting married. So what could Marvin do? He got married. It should be said that David had a gift. Marvin and Esther remained together, and at least as of 3 years ago when I spoke to Marvin, he still had his original teeth. That's 2 for 2 for David. Marvin and Esther were married at David's house in Timber Ridge on April 5th, 1959, and they remained married for 59 years. Together, Marvin and Esther would move to Fitch and Rockwell and would waste no time starting a family. Susan joined them just over a year later on May 1st, and 3 years later in a move to 9240 Hamlin, and Stephen would join the family. Marvin had supported the family through the Morris Craft Company, but had moved on to work as a rep for a furniture manufacturing company and worked for a couple along the years. Esther, meanwhile, ran the home. This was no typical home, I was told. It was a home base, a hub, if you will, for the entire family. There were cousins, uncles, grandparents, and even neighbors who would spend time living with the family for a night, a week, or even several years. I was told the family house was only about 1,800 square feet. And Stephen noted when we last spoke that he remembers at least one point at which there were 19 people sleeping there. Marvin had told me that he used to buy hot dogs in 40-pound boxes. It was the only way to feed that many people. That's an incredible thing. There were also many shenanigans that occurred in the family home. I find it interesting that in all the time I've been told about these shenanigans, I've never been given an actual story. Not one. As if they're just too wild for any rabbi to hear. Similarly, I've been told of the great sense of humor Marvin had and his extensive library of jokes, and yet I've never heard any of them. I suppose I can take from that many of them are perhaps not rabbi appropriate. At any rate, Marvin and Esther made a home that everyone wanted to be at, and in which everyone felt welcome. In 1977, Marvin and Esther would pick up and move the family to Northbrook at 1037 Sussex. And in 2000, they would move for the last time to 1711 Coling Road in Northbrook. Marvin was incredibly lucky. Marvin was a good-looking guy, to be sure, but he married a knockout with a resemblance of Natalie Wood, if memory serves. She was also an entrepreneur in her own right and was known as the Queen of Northbrook. Perhaps because that's what her license plate said. Now, 3 years ago, I was told of the adventure that was Esther's driving. I was told she was often jokingly referred to as Mario Andretti or Speedy Gonzalez. So when yesterday I asked the family about Marvin's driving and was told he was much more aggressive than Esther, I shuddered. That said, I understand he was an incredibly safe driver. He just had a reliable relationship with the horn and perhaps the accelerator. What was more impressive is that he was still driving up to just a few days ago. 95 and still driving is a heck of a thing. He was also still working, now for the past 11 years as a greeter at Home Depot. He knew the store better than anyone. He was, as he always was, a soft, welcoming presence. I'm told he also was prepared for any canine visitors as well, often keeping a pocket full of treats for any dog who came to visit. Marvin worked hard his whole life. It was as ironic as anything could be on his vacation from work that Marvin passed. He had planned to take his vacation and then retire after. It was not to be. Marvin was a man who worked his entire life, and that's what it was going to be. With Marvin's sense of humor, and forgive me for this, we might say he worked so hard he had to take a vacation day to pass. Marvin had many passions. His family was number one, though. Beyond that, he loved playing poker every week at the Senior Center in Northbrook. He was, as mentioned, a big joke teller. He was, I'm told, famous for his hot dog goulash. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I'm sure it was tastier than it sounds. He loved chess, and a man after my own heart, he was an avid golfer. I'm told he had to give it up at age 90, which was very disappointing to him. I'll say this, I'll count myself very lucky if I can continue playing golf until I'm 90. I understand that's not the only disappointment Marvin carried, however. Aside from that check the Green Bay Packers still owe him, he also found disappointment in the recent turn for the Cubs and the fact that COVID postponed the release of season 4 of Yellowstone, a show I've never watched, but will now, in Marvin's memory, take to watching. He fixed everything. Whether it was for himself or someone else, he was the fix-it guy. He loved each of you, and as Susan remarked, expected you to say it as well. He loved Mexican food, which was fitting as he met Esther at El Toro. It was a family friend, Cindy, who kept him going these past couple years. And the family is so thankful for you. They told me you were a friend, but now you're family. so much more we could say, and you should say. These stories are how we keep his memory alive. This is how we grow to live in his honor. I only got to know Marvin briefly. I wish I had gotten more time to spend with him. I'll tell my wife that's because I need to spend more time at Home Depot, but she'd tell you I already spend too much. He was a kind soul and extremely knowledgeable about many things. He wasn't flashy or slick. He was classy. His memory was sharp, as was his whole mind. He was the kind of guy you meet at any age and think, that's the kind of guy I want to be when I'm his age. I've learned so much from and about an incredible man, and I have learned so much just by getting to know each of you. I think it worth mentioning that Esther would have been proud of us today as we learned our lesson and didn't make her get up before noon to be here in spirit. I am comforted to think Marvin and Esther are once again back together and will lay side by side together. I think they together made each of you better. Marvin imparted wisdom and stood by you to help with anything, but more than that, he imparted himself and his skills so that you could walk on your own. May you come to be like him in all the best ways. May you come to share all the memories and continue the shenanigans in his honor. May you tell his jokes, and may your homes be open to those in need and be a hub of love and kindness like Marvin and Esther's always was. May your families grow as theirs did and be a light to those around you. And may the memory of Marvin, Klein, Moshe, Ben Shmuel, Vilmalka be an everlasting blessing and ever enrich our lives. Tehillim, Chav Gimel, Psalm 23. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bino teshe, yarbitzeni, olmei menuchot, yanach aleini, nafshi yishovev, yancheni b'maglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech, v'gates al malvet, lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shivtecha, umishantecha, hema yanachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorarai, shanta v'Hashem en roshi kosid rivaya. Ach tov v'chesed yurdefuni kol yemei chayai, shavti v'beit Adonai leorech yamin. We join together inside the service booklet, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. At this point, we'll say a memorial prayer. Please rise. Say menucha nechona al kanfei hashchina mahalav kedoshim kedoshim kezarakia masirim et nishmat Moshe ben Shmuel v'Malka shahalach le'olamo ba'avuhu shanachnu mitpalelim be'at Haskara nishmato, began Eden menuchato. Lachein, Balarakamim, Yastireu, Visetikana Pablo Lamim, Vaisor Visarachayim Ehed Nishmato, Adonai, Uhuna Kalato, Venuach V'Shalom Amishkavo, Veno Mahar, Amen.
Amen.
God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant proper repose on the sheltering wings of your presence, and the lofty levels of the holy and pure shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of Marvin, son of Sam and Mildred Klein, who has gone to his world and for whose memory we pray. May his repose be in paradise. May the Master of Compassion bring him under the cover of God's wings and bind his soul in the bond of life. May the Lord be his heritage, and may he repose on his resting place in peace. And let us respond, Amen.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, they'll be placing the cover on the vault, and then you'll each have an opportunity to place some earth into the grave, and then we'll conclude with the Kaddish after the grave is filled in.
You're going to speak?
Yeah. I don't usually speak at the funerals, but I just wanted to say that my wife Sherry and I both got to know Marvin after we did Esther's funeral. We would see him at the Home Depot. And last week, when I was at Home Depot, I asked about him, and I was told, oh, he's retiring. We're going to have a party for him in about a week. Now, you might have noticed that the hearse today was a little unusual, maybe something none of you have ever seen before. I had commissioned this earlier this year to commemorate my family being in the funeral business in Chicago for 115 years. And my father, Seymour, and I drove this back over the last several days, stopping in Oklahoma to see my son and grandchildren. And we actually stopped yesterday at Westlawn to pay our respects to my dad's parents, who were both in the funeral business. When I heard that Marvin had passed, I contacted Stephen, and I sent him some pictures of the hearse and said, there's nobody I would rather offer this to than your dad. And that's he was the first person to be in that hearse, and you couldn't think of anyone more special than your dad. And it was always a pleasure to see him at Home Depot, and the picture that you have in the program of him at Home Depot, that was the picture to put in. Thank you.
As soon as they clear the area here, we'll ask all those present to please help. It's Jewish tradition that we don't leave the burial of our loved ones to others, but rather partake ourselves. It's considered the highest mitzvah, the greatest of the Jewish acts that can be performed. It's considered as such because it's the one favor that can never be repaid. A few things to keep in mind as you step forward. The first is, please only participate if you feel you can do so safely. There's no requirement that anybody endanger themselves to participate. Next, the ground's a little soft around the edges. It partially collapsed even as they were making it, so please be careful around the edges. Lastly, two Jewish traditions. We don't pass the shovel from person to person, just lay it down on the ground. It shows a hesitation to perform this great mitzvah. We're not eager to jump into this. The other thing is, as you first perform the mitzvah, to use the shovel upside down. It may seem really unusual, but that's kind of the point. This isn't a job site. This is a mitzvah, and so we start by doing things a little unusually to remind ourselves that this is a holy endeavor. We'll start by inviting the family up, and then friends can follow behind. Invite all those friends and those gathered to please join. There are two sides. You can come around this side if you'd like. Or come along the close side, whichever you prefer. If you want to go the long way around the tent, you can join in this line over here.
We do have water. There's also a register book here. If you haven't signed, please find the register book and sign it. There should be a tag on it.
It is, but I don't see a information. It doesn't have any words or.
On the inside.
No, it doesn't.
Our thoughts are with you together, sit at a time with people.
Okay, so.
Wednesday starting at 2.
Everything good with you guys? Yeah. Right.
Driving Danny crazy.
Driving Jenny crazy.
I gotta find where Dana already walked by the car. I lost her. Okay, I'm just gonna assume she's in the car. I gotta run, but I'll see you guys at the or no? For the early shift.
Are this good? I don't know. Everything is
I actually have a funeral at 1:30. If I come back, I'm not worried about your funeral. No. But you
We can make one though.
actually, I bought some things there that I never anticipated. Actually, let's if you can move away from the camera. I bought two of these things. Red for sale. That's one I have, but yours are more compact. I bought a lot of the new stuff you have up front of them. Right. I can't believe I'm driving back and I got the text that he passed away and registered for and I'm like, wait a second. And it's like, because I just asked, I have four people there. Is Marvin still coming in? And they said, well, actually, he's retired now. Call him fish and they keep me Ladies and gentlemen, the grave's going to be filled in by the tractor, and then the rabbi is going to lead us in Kaddish, and that'll be the end of the service. Maybe that tractor. Cramped up, or you need
No, I got bit. But from flies.
here? Maybe they last 3 weeks.
Hatzor Tamim Pa'alo Kichol Derachav Mishpat El Emuna Ve'en Avel Tzadik V'Yasharhu Hatzor Tamim B'chol Pa'al Mi Amar Lo Ma Tif'al Hashalifa Matal V'Ma'al Menitu Mechayim Morid Sha'al V'Ya'al. The rock, perfect is God's work, for all God's paths are just. God of faith, without iniquity, righteous and fair is God. The rock, perfect in every work, who can tell God what to do? God rules below and above, causes death and restores life, lowers down to the grave and raises up. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach, v'hu Rachum Yechaber Avon v'lo Yashiv, v'hir ba'la Ashiv, Apo v'lo Ya'ir Kol Chamato. The Lord has given and the Lord has taken away. Blessed is the name of the Lord. And God, the merciful one, will forgive iniquity and not destroy, frequently withdrawing anger, not arousing the entirety of God's rage. At this point, we'll say Mourner's Kaddish, which you can find in the service booklet for the family, and we'll ask all those present to respond at the appropriate places. Ready? V'yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah v'yalmad divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam olome omaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitale, v'yithalal, shemei dekudsha, rehu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran di'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom v'imroma, huya aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Lech v'shalom v'tenuach v'shalom v'ta'amod v'goralech l'ketzemin. Go in peace, repose in peace, and rise to your ultimate destiny at the end of days. At this point, we'll ask all those present, if you could, to make a line basically in line with the headstones this way, and a line on the other side, so we have an aisle in the middle facing each other, if you could please.
Anybody but the immediate family members, please form 2 lines. Since you just moved out. We're giving it to the Home Depot.
Okay, and you guys can make your way through now. You guys go right through the middle. As the family walks through, we wish them Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Shara Be'lei Tzion B'Yerushalayim. May the omnipresent console you among the other mourners of Zion and Yerushalayim. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Shara Be'lei Tzion B'Yerushalayim.
Do you want to just say goodbye to the dozen or so people that are logged in here?
Oh.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan, Cam. Hi, guys. Thank you
Hi,
for
everyone.
coming, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.